I arrived at my son's house on Christmas Eve just before dinner. I carried 2 bags in my hands, one with gifts for my granddaughter, one with the pastries I made that morning. Snow was falling hard, but I walked up the driveway steady and calm. I knocked on the door and waited. Sam opened it a second later. He didn't smile. He didn't say Merry Christmas. He didn't even move out of the way. He just stared at the bags in my hands like they were trash I brought to the wrong house. "You're early," he said. "I didn't want to keep anyone waiting," I answered. "Merry Christmas." He stepped aside without a word. I walked in. The house was loud with chatter from Clarissa's family. Music played, lights blinked on the tree. But the moment I stepped inside, the noise felt distant. I felt like a stranger walking into someone else's celebration. Clarissa sat on the couch with her phone up, taking selfies in front of the Christmas tree. Her dress sparkled under the lights. She didn't even look at me at first. When she finally did, she nodded once, quick, dismissive, and went back to adjusting her hair. I set the bags down and took off my gloves. Then I heard footsteps running fast. "Grandma!" Mia ran straight toward me. She hugged me tight, burying her face in my coat. I held her with one arm and touched her hair. At least one person in that house was happy to see me. "I missed you," she said. "I missed you too," I whispered. Before I could say more, Clarissa called out from the couch, "Mia, honey, let Grandma breathe. She just got here." Mia stepped back but stayed close to me. I walked toward the dining room and froze. There were 10 seats at the table, all taken, plates set, glasses filled, napkins folded, but not a single chair for me. They had planned an entire dinner without leaving space for the woman who raised the man hosting it. I looked at Sam. He avoided my eyes. I placed the pastries on the counter. I reached for Mia's gift to put it near the tree, and the second it touched the table, Sam pushed his chair back. The sound cracked through the room. He stood. His face shifted from annoyance to something sharper. "Mom, no," he said loudly. "Stop! Don't put that there." Everyone went silent. Clarissa's family turned their heads. Clarissa lowered her phone and stared. Sam's voice rose. "You are not welcome here. Get out." Mia gasped. One of Clarissa's cousins dropped her fork. The room held its breath. I didn't speak. I looked at my son, my only child, and waited to see if he would realize what he had just said. He didn't. He doubled down. "I mean it. Leave. Now." Clarissa crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair, watching him like this was a show she had already seen before. Her mother whispered something to her father and smirked. I kept my expression still. "Sam," I said quietly, "I brought gifts for Mia." "We don't need anything from you," he replied. "You weren't supposed to come anyway." Mia grabbed my hand. "Dad, please don't do this." He ignored her. I looked around the table. No one spoke. No one stood up. Not one person asked him to stop. These were the same people who had eaten at my table for years, the same people who asked me for recipes, advice, help. Now they all sat there, watching me like I was ruining their evening. I tightened my grip on Mia's hand for 1 second, then let go. "It's all right, sweetheart," I told her. "Go back to your seat." She shook her head. "No, I want to stay with you." But I knew better. I knew what staying would cost her later. I brushed her cheek with my thumb. "I'll see you soon," I said softly. I turned to Sam. He looked ready to argue again, ready to humiliate me further. I didn't give him the chance. I straightened my coat, lifted my chin slightly, and looked at him the way a mother looks at a child who has crossed a line he doesn't truly understand. "As you wish," I said. "Remember your words." The sentence landed hard. He blinked as if he didn't expect calmness from the woman he had just thrown out. I picked up my bags, not rushed, not embarrassed, not defeated. Clarissa took a sip of champagne, pretending to look away, but clearly listening. I walked toward the door as the room stayed painfully silent. The only sound was Mia's quiet breathing, shaky from holding back tears. When I reached the entryway, I put my gloves back on. My hands didn't shake. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in. Snow blew sideways across the porch. Before stepping out, I turned my head slightly, just enough to see the room without giving them the power of a full glance. No one moved. No one spoke. They just watched. I nodded once, not to them but to myself. Then I walked into the cold night, the door closed behind me. Not slammed, just closed. And I felt something shift inside me. Quiet, steady, final. I came there with gifts, food, and a warm heart. I left with clarity. Snow hit my face the moment I stepped outside. The cold was sharp, but it didn't bother me. What happened inside bothered me far less than Sam expected. I walked down the steps slowly, holding the bags tight. The driveway was covered in a thin sheet of ice, but I kept my balance. Behind me, the door stayed shut. No one came after me, not even Mia. I reached my car and set the bags on the passenger seat. The pastries were still warm in their containers. The gifts for Mia were stacked neatly. I took a breath, closed the door, and stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle. "My son, you just burned the last bridge," I murmured, not with anger, not with heartbreak, with recognition. I brushed the snow from my coat, opened the driver's door, and sat down. The car was cold, but I didn't rush to turn on the heater. I rested my hands on the steering wheel and looked straight ahead. This wasn't the first warning sign. It was the last one. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. My fingers moved without hesitation. I opened my contacts and selected one name, Mr. Harrington. Not a friend, not a neighbor, not family, my lawyer. He picked up after 2 rings. "Adele, it's Christmas Eve. Is everything all right?" "I need you tomorrow morning, first thing," I answered. There was a pause, then a shift in his tone. Alert, focused. "Understood. Is this about what you mentioned last month?" "Yes, it's time." "I'll clear my schedule. Come at 9. "I'll be there." I ended the call. No extra words, no hesitation, no emotion. Through the windshield, I saw the living room curtains move. Clarissa's silhouette stood behind them. She wasn't checking on me. She was checking if I had really left. Her posture was upright, almost proud. She turned away a moment later, the curtain falling back into place. I reached for my keys, but my phone buzzed. A message from Mia. "Grandma, where are you going?" I stared at the screen for a moment. She didn't deserve to be punished for her parents' cruelty. I typed back, "I'm okay, sweetheart. Enjoy your dinner. I'll see you soon." I placed the phone on the console. I knew Sam would take her phone soon. He always did when he didn't want her asking questions. I turned the engine on. The headlights lit the ice on the driveway. Before backing out, I looked at the house one more time, not out of longing, but out of acknowledgement. That chapter was done. I drove slowly down the street. Christmas lights flickered on the houses around me, red, green, white. Neighbors prepared for family gatherings. Kids played in the snow. Couples carried bags of presents inside. It should have been a warm night, but I felt nothing except clarity. Halfway down the block, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Mia. It was a voicemail from a blocked number. I ignored it. Anything important would show up soon in a more official form. By the time I reached the main road, the snow had thickened. I turned on the wipers and kept driving, steady and focused. There was no shaking in my hands, no anger in my chest, just certainty. I reached my home 20 minutes later. I parked under the small light above my garage. I carried the bags inside, set them on the table, and took off my coat. The house was quiet, warm, and orderly. Everything Sam's house wasn't. I unwrapped the scarf around my neck and hung it near the door. Then I returned to the table and unpacked the pastries. They were still intact. I placed them in the fridge and put the gifts for Mia in the closet where I kept her things. I checked the time, 7:12. I could have gone to bed early. I could have tried to move on. But that was not my way. Instead, I walked to my desk, opened my notebook, and wrote one line at the top of a fresh page. Family account, day 0. I listed what had happened. Facts only, no interpretation. Refused entry. Public humiliation. No seat prepared. All witnesses present. Sam's tone, hostile, intentional. Clarissa's reaction, pleased, supportive. Mia distressed. I closed the notebook. Then my phone buzzed again, this time a text from Sam. "Don't make this dramatic. We talked about boundaries." I stared at the message. Boundaries had never been his concern. Control had. I didn't reply. A second message came seconds later. "Mom, just stop. Enjoy your night. We're busy." I placed the phone face down. I walked to the window and looked at the snow falling across my yard. It was steady, predictable, consistent. 3 things my son no longer was. I didn't feel sad. I felt something sharper, resolve. I locked my door, turned off the lights, and prepared myself for the morning ahead. At 9 o'clock tomorrow, I would sit across from Harrington, and I would start taking back everything Sam thought he could use against me. I lay down on the bed and closed my eyes. Sam told me I wasn't welcome. For the first time, I believed him. And for the first time, I was ready to act accordingly. I woke up at 6 the next morning, the same way I always did. No alarm, no hesitation. My body had followed that rhythm for years, and not even last night's humiliation broke it. I pushed the covers aside, put on my robe, and walked to the kitchen. The house was quiet. My coffee maker clicked on, and the smell filled the air. I opened the blinds and watched the snow settle across the yard, clean even, undisturbed. I stood there for a few seconds, breathing slow and steady. There was no pain, no confusion, no wondering why my own son told me to get out. The moment it happened, something in me clicked into place. Now, everything was clear. I brought my coffee to the dining table and opened my notebook. A fresh page, a black pen. At the top of the page, I wrote, "Family account, day 1, reset." I listed every detail from last night. Public rejection, no seat prepared, witnesses present, intentional humiliation, Mia distressed, Clarissa supportive of Sam. No apology afterward. I read the list twice. It felt factual, not emotional. That was exactly how I needed it. My phone buzzed. A group message from Rose, Mary, and Anne. "Morning walk? Boxing Day routine? We're outside if you're up." I finished the last sip of my coffee, put on my coat, and opened the front door. Their SUV was parked by my driveway, all 3 of them inside, waving through the window. I walked over and opened the passenger door. "I need you ladies today." Rose leaned forward. "Then let's start." We drove to the park we always visited the morning after Christmas. The same benches, the same snow-covered path, families walked dogs, kids tested out new sleds. But our focus stayed tight. As we stepped out of the car, they watched me carefully. They knew me well enough to sense when something had shifted. Mary linked her arm through mine. "Start from the beginning." We walked in a slow line, our boots crunching on the snow. I explained last night without raising my voice. I gave them the sequence, the words, the looks, the silence at the table, and the moment Sam pointed at the door. When I reached the part where he told me I wasn't welcome, all 3 stopped walking. Anne exhaled sharply. "That boy needs a wake-up call." Rose crossed her arms. "He forgot who raised him." Mary shook her head. "You stood there with gifts. They didn't even leave a seat." Their reactions didn't move me emotionally, but I appreciated them. "I'm not asking for sympathy," I told them. "I'm telling you because I'm done letting it slide." Rose nodded. "So what's next?" "I'm going to the bank. Then I'm meeting Harrington." Mary's eyebrows lifted. "Today?" "Yes, today. I'm not waiting another week, another day, or another hour." Anne touched my shoulder. "We stand with you." I looked each of them in the eye. "Good, because I'm not letting last night be just another story I complain about. I'm taking back control." We continued walking. The wind picked up, but I barely noticed it. My mind was already at the bank, at the office, at every door I would walk through today with a plan. As we circled the path, Rose hesitated. She looked uncomfortable, like something was on her mind. I stopped and turned to her. "What is it?" She glanced at the others before speaking. "I should tell you this now. Last night after you left, I walked past Sam's house." Mary blinked. "You went out that late?" "I was dropping off blankets to the church van," Rose explained. "I passed his side yard. The trash bin was open. I saw Sam throwing something away, a red envelope. I held still. Red? Yes, it had your full name printed on it. Official looking. He didn't even bother shredding it, just threw it out. Mary frowned. Why throw out something with her name on it on Christmas Eve? Anne stepped closer. A red envelope usually means a notice from court or a bank. I didn't react outwardly, but inside, everything aligned. Sam throwing away an envelope addressed to me was not a mistake. It was a hint, a warning, a timeline, a confirmation. Thank you, I said to Rose. That helps. Rose looked relieved. I thought it might matter. It does. We finished our walk and headed back to the SUV. While the others got in, I paused by the door. I looked at them. After the bank, I'll go straight to Harrington. I'm starting the process today. Anne nodded firmly. Whatever you choose, we're here. I got into the front seat, closed the door, and rested my hands on my lap. My voice stayed controlled. I will not be humiliated twice. Today, we take back control. They didn't argue. They knew I meant every word. They drove me home. I stepped out of the SUV and thanked them. I'll update you after the meeting. Rose leaned out the window. Get them, Adele. I watched the car pull away, then turned back toward my house. The sun was higher now. The snow on my walkway was untouched except for my footsteps from earlier. I walked inside, grabbed my purse, and checked the documents in the side pocket. ID, folders, bank records, the notebook with last night's list. I looked at the clock. 8:30. Enough time to get to the bank when it opened. I picked up my keys. My day had only one purpose: remove every opportunity Sam and Clarissa thought they had. I turned off the lights, locked the door behind me, and walked to my car. I parked in front of the Bank of Ridgeview at exactly 9. The lot was half full, mostly early risers handling post-holiday errands. I stepped out, locked my car, and walked straight to the entrance. My pace was steady, not rushed. I knew what I was here to do. Inside, the lights were bright, the lobby warm, and the air filled with the quiet sounds of printers and soft conversations. A young teller greeted me, but I didn't stop. I'm here to meet Mr. Ford, I told her. He's expecting me. She nodded and motioned toward the offices in the back. I walked down the hallway, heels tapping on the tile floor. When I reached his glass door, he stood up immediately and opened it. Adele, come in. I stepped inside and sat across from him. His office was neat, organized folders, 2 monitors, a small framed photo of his daughter on his desk. He closed the door gently and returned to his seat. What can I help you with today? He asked, folding his hands. I want a full review of every account under my name, I replied. Checking, savings, CDs, IRAs, everything. And I want any recent inquiries, access attempts, or changes. His eyebrows rose a little, but he didn't question it. He turned to his computer and started typing. The screen reflected in his glasses as he pulled up my profile. There's something you should know, he said after a moment. Your son was here 2 days ago. I kept my face still. For what purpose? He asked about your portfolio. He wanted to discuss becoming a co-owner on several accounts. I leaned back slightly. Did you approve anything? No. I told him he needed you present. He didn't like that, but he left without further action. Good, I replied. He scanned another page on the screen. His eyes tightened. There's more. I didn't move. Continue. 3 days ago, someone attempted to open a $250,000 credit line using your full name and social security number. Was this done in person or online? In person, he replied. The signature on the form didn't match yours, so we flagged it and declined the request. Do you have the form? Yes, I printed a copy because it concerned me. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. Here. I opened it. The signature looked nothing like mine. The handwriting was rushed and uneven, as if the writer didn't think anyone would look twice. Was Sam here on that day as well? I asked. Yes, Mr. Ford answered. He came in about an hour after the attempted credit line. He asked again about adding his name to your accounts. He paused. Adele, I know this isn't my place, but something didn't feel right. I've worked with you for years. You've always handled your finances yourself. You've never mentioned adding anyone. That's correct, I replied. He nodded once. Then I'm glad I stopped it. I closed the folder. I want fraud alerts placed on every account. Lock everything. No new credit lines, no changes, no access attempts without my in-person authorization. I can do that now, he assured me, turning back to his computer. As he typed, Rose entered the office quietly. She had been waiting in the lobby. Everything all right? She asked softly. I'm handling it, I told her. She stepped beside me, but didn't interrupt. Mr. Ford printed a stack of documents, account activity logs, access attempts, and flagged alerts. He placed them in front of me. These are the last 30 days of activity. I highlighted the unusual entries. I scanned the pages. There were 3 suspicious entries, all tied to Sam's name or email. Rose leaned over slightly. This is unbelievable. It's predictable, I responded. People show you who they are. Eventually, you stop ignoring it. Mr. Ford cleared his throat. There's also this. He pulled up another tab on his screen. Your son asked if you plan to revise your estate. He asked about property title transfers. He didn't mention I was alive and well, I assume? Mr. Ford managed a tight exhale. No, he did not. I nodded once. Thank you for the information. He sat back. Do you need anything else? I want copies of everything, digital and physical. And I want the account access logs notarized. I'll prepare the notarized set immediately, he replied. While he stepped out to arrange the notary, Rose turned to me. Adele, this is worse than we thought. It confirms what I needed, I answered. That's enough. She squeezed my shoulder. You're not alone in this. I know, I replied, keeping my voice steady. But this part I handle myself. Mr. Ford returned with a notary. She greeted me, checked my ID, and stamped the documents quickly. When she finished, he handed me a folder thick with paperwork. This is everything, he told me. If anything else happens, I'll contact you immediately. I stood, collected my purse, and slipped the folder inside. You've been very helpful. Thank you. He opened the door for me. Be careful, Adele. I gave a small nod and stepped out. Rose followed me into the lobby. Where next? Harrington, I replied. It's time. We walked outside. The air was cold, but my mind was clear. This wasn't guesswork anymore. This was evidence. Hard, simple, undeniable evidence. Before reaching the car, Rose stopped me. Are you okay? Truly? I'm perfect, I answered. They just helped me prove their true nature. She let out a breath. Then let's finish this. I unlocked the car and placed the folder on the passenger seat. The papers inside didn't shake, and neither did I. Everything was unfolding exactly as it needed to. I closed the door firmly. Sam thinks last night was the final word, I told Rose. He has no idea today is the beginning. She nodded. He's not ready for you. He never was, I replied. I got into the car, started the engine, and checked the time. I could reach Harrington's office with 15 minutes to spare. I drove out of the lot without looking back. I arrived at Harrington's office 10 minutes early. The building was quiet. Most businesses still closed for the holiday week, but his lights were on. He never ignored a call from me, especially one placed on Christmas Eve. I walked inside, greeted the receptionist with a nod, and she pointed toward his door. He's ready for you. I stepped into his office. The space was organized, lined with shelves of case files and binders. Harrington stood from his desk the moment I entered. His expression tightened as he noticed the thick folder in my hand. You brought documentation, he observed. Everything from the bank, I replied. He motioned toward the chair across from him. I sat down and placed the folder on his desk. He opened it and began reviewing the documents page by page. His eyes moved fast. He didn't waste time. He tapped one sheet with his finger. This is a clear attempt at identity fraud. Sam walked into the bank 3 times in the last week, I told him. He tried to open a credit line using my name. He also asked about adding himself to my accounts. Harrington leaned back, hands clasped together. This lines up with what I suspected when you called last night. I waited for him to continue. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thin red file. You weren't supposed to see this until next week. Your son already initiated a conversation with a lawyer downtown. The topic was your mental competence. Trying to declare me incompetent, I responded. Predictable. It would give him legal control over your finances, Harrington confirmed, and your home. I stayed still. I heard from Rose this morning. Sam threw out a red envelope with my name on it. That would be the initial notice, Harrington explained. If he filed anything, the court would have sent it to you. It appears he tried to intercept it before you saw it. He continued reviewing the bank logs. Between the identity fraud, the credit line attempt, and the harassment you experienced last night, we're looking at a strong case of premeditated financial coercion. I opened my notebook and placed it beside the folder. Here's what I want. Harrington paused, listening carefully. 1, I began. We update my will. Effective immediately. Sam is removed as beneficiary. The Winter estate will no longer be linked to him. Harrington nodded once. Done. 2, I continued. We start the process of transferring the estate into a protected foundation. He raised an eyebrow. You're ready to proceed with that now? I wasn't ready last month, I replied. I am now. He opened a fresh legal pad. Name of the foundation? St. Helena Foundation for Single Elder Women, I answered. My husband received help from them before he passed. They'll use the estate better than my son ever would. Harrington wrote the name down. We can set up the transfer in the next 48 hours. You'll retain full decision-making authority until then. Good, I said. Next. He lifted his pen. There's more? Yes. I want every document notarized and time-stamped today, and I want copies sent to a secure off-site drive. Sam can't intercept anything. Harrington stood, walked to the door, and gestured for his assistant. She came in with a notary kit and began preparing stamps and forms. While she worked, Harrington turned back to me. What happened inside that house last night? That wasn't just disrespect. That was a setup. He wanted you isolated. He succeeded, I replied, and now he loses everything that isolation was meant to secure. Harrington's mouth pulled into a thin line of agreement. We'll document it all. I reached into my purse, pulled out the printed Facebook screenshot from last night, and placed it on the table. Sam's holiday post, the one where I was erased from the family photo, sat between us. This goes in the file, I told him. It shows intent. He wanted the world to believe I wasn't there. Harrington added it to the growing stack. The notary finished stamping the first set of documents and handed them to me. Harrington reviewed each stamp, checking accuracy. He looked up. We need to talk about your safety. I'm safe, I replied. I'm not worried about physical danger, he clarified. I'm concerned about retaliation. Sam may attempt to pressure you emotionally or financially once he realizes what you're doing. Then he'll face consequences, I responded. I'm not backing down. Harrington flipped to a new document. There's one more thing we need to prepare. A record of intent. Your statement outlining why you're restructuring your estate. I can give you that right now. He positioned the form in front of me. State your intent clearly. I wrote, I am restructuring my estate due to ongoing attempts by my son, Samuel Montoya, to access my finances without permission, misrepresent my mental capacity, and isolate me from my property and legal rights. I slid the form back to him. That's accurate. He read it, nodded, and handed it to the notary. While she stamped it, Harrington returned his attention to me. Do you want to inform Sam now, or wait until everything is finalized? Neither, I replied. He'll find out when the paperwork reaches him. I want his reaction documented, not heard over a phone call. Harrington tapped the desk lightly. Smart. I gathered the completed documents and placed them neatly into my folder. Harrington closed his binder and stood. You've handled this with more composure than most clients I've worked with. I don't react, I told him. I prepare. He opened the door for me. We'll finalize the estate paperwork tomorrow morning. After that, Sam's access to anything under your name becomes legally impossible. Exactly what I want. I stepped out of his office, folder in hand. The weight of the documents felt right. Not heavy, not overwhelming, just necessary. Before I left the building, Harrington called after me. "Adele, this is the beginning, not the end." "I know," I replied. "That's why I'm ready." I walked to my car with the same steady pace I used when I walked into Sam's house the night before. But this time, I carried something stronger than gifts and pastries. I reached home just after noon. The house was quiet, the way I preferred it. I placed the folder from Harrington on my dining table and hung my coat. Before doing anything else, I turned on the kettle and made tea. My hands were steady, my chest was calm. I had handled the bank, I had handled the lawyer. The next steps would unfold just as cleanly. While the tea cooled, I opened my laptop. Notifications filled the screen. Family posts, holiday photos, messages from people who had no idea what had happened last night. I ignored most of it until one post caught my eye. Sam's profile. He had uploaded a Christmas family photo. Clarissa's parents were smiling. Her cousins posed near the tree. Sam stood behind them with his arm around Clarissa. Mia sat on her lap, smiling in a way children smile when they're told to. The dining table was behind them, full of food. I looked for myself. I wasn't there. Not in the photo, not tagged, not mentioned. The caption read, "Christmas dinner with the whole family, a clean rewrite of the truth. He erased me completely, as if I had never stepped foot in that house, as if he had never thrown me out in front of a table full of witnesses." I didn't feel anger, only confirmation. I took a screenshot and saved it in a new folder titled Montoya Case Evidence. While I was organizing the files, my phone vibrated. A number I recognized immediately. Eva Collins. She was dating Sam's cousin Ethan. She never contacted me unless something serious happened. I answered. "Ava?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Adele, I need to tell you something. I'm calling from the bathroom. They're all in the dining room." "Who's there?" I asked. "Sam, Clarissa, her parents, Ethan, a few others. They're talking about money." I remained silent, giving her space to continue. "They're saying you're giving Sam $250,000 tomorrow," she explained. "They're planning how to use it." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Interesting. That isn't all," she continued. "Clarissa is telling everyone that she's opening a Christmas decor chain with that money. She keeps bragging that you finally came to your senses." "Did Sam confirm it?" I asked. "He did. He told them the funds were guaranteed. He kept repeating it, like he already had the money in his pocket." I stood perfectly still in my kitchen, letting the information settle. This wasn't desperation. It was entitlement. Sam and Clarissa weren't hoping. They were counting on my money, spending it before they had it, building a future on something they planned to steal. Eva lowered her voice further. "They're also planning some kind of family meeting tomorrow. They want to present you with documents, something about realigning assets." Clarissa's father looked uncomfortable. He kept asking if you agreed. "Did Sam explain how he got my approval?" I asked. "He told everyone you were confused last night. He said you were tired, overwhelmed, and that you agreed earlier in the week. He's painting it like you're unstable." My jaw tightened. "He's consistent, I'll give him that." Eva breathed into the speaker. "I shouldn't be telling you any of this, but I felt sick listening to them. They're planning this like you don't matter." "You did the right thing calling me," I told her. "Thank you." There was a brief silence. Then, "What are you going to do?" "I'll handle it," I replied. "Enjoy your evening. Don't mention this call." "I won't." She ended the call quickly. I placed the phone on the counter and leaned against the sink. Not from exhaustion, only to keep my thoughts organized. Everything Eva described aligned perfectly with the bank logs, the credit line attempts, the intercepted mail, the Facebook post. Sam wasn't just acting out of greed. He believed he had already won. He believed he had cornered me. I opened the evidence folder again and added a new note. Sam telling family I'm providing $250K. Clarissa planning business with stolen funds. Family meeting scheduled tomorrow. Claiming I'm unstable, I saved the file. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mia. "Grandma, can I come over tomorrow? I don't like how Dad acted." My heart softened for a brief moment, but I stayed focused. I typed back, "Yes, sweetheart. Always." I put the phone down and walked to the living room. My eyes landed on the decorations I had set up earlier that month. Simple things: a wreath, a few candles, a small tree with white lights. Nothing extravagant, but peaceful, honest. I sat on the couch and opened Harrington's folder again. Each document was stamped, organized, and ready for the next step. The foundation transfer, the updated will, the fraud evidence, the identity theft attempts, the logs, the screenshots, everything I needed to move forward. The only thing left to do was prepare for tomorrow's confrontation. I took a deep breath, stood, and walked to my office. I pulled out a thick binder labeled Estate Documentation. I slipped the new folder inside and locked the drawer. As I closed the office door, my phone vibrated for the third time. This time, it was Sam. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. Anything he had to say could wait, and anything he did next would be documented. I walked back to the kitchen, finished my tea, and set the cup in the sink. My movements were steady, deliberate, calm. Tomorrow, Clarissa and Sam would walk into my home believing they were in control. By the time they walked out, they would understand just how wrong they were. I started preparing the house the moment Eva's call ended. I didn't rush, I didn't panic. I moved with the same steady rhythm I used when organizing my husband's medical files years ago. Firm, detailed, controlled. The first step was clearing the living room. I moved the coffee table against the wall, rolled the rug aside, and wiped down the surface of the long wooden table that stood in the center of the room. That table had hosted holidays, birthdays, and long conversations with my husband. Today, it would host something else: truth. I placed a stack of folders on the table. One held the bank records, one held the credit line attempt, one held the Facebook screenshot, one held the notes from Eva, another held the fraud alerts, notarized and stamped. I organized everything by category: finance, identity, behavior, witnesses, digital evidence. I kept my expression steady as I reviewed each page. Every document had weight. Not emotional weight, legal weight. I opened the cabinet near the hallway and pulled out the small recording device I had purchased months ago. A habit I learned over the years: prepare before you need protection. I tested the battery, checked the audio levels, and set it aside. Then I walked to the shelf near the window and grabbed 2 small cameras. Both were designed for indoor monitoring, motion-based, with sharp audio pickup. I charged them earlier in the month, so they were ready. I positioned one behind a small stack of books on the left side of the room. The other went above the cabinet facing the table. Both had wide angles. Both would capture everything. I adjusted the angles until they covered every inch of the table. When I was satisfied, I returned to the long table and set my laptop at the far end. A backup recording. Redundancy mattered. Before continuing, I texted Rose, Mary, and Anne. "Be here tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. I need witnesses." All 3 responded within a minute. Rose, "We'll be there." And Mary, "Whatever you need." Anne, "They won't know what hit them." I placed my phone face down and continued prepping. I walked to the closet and retrieved a large envelope. Not the thin kind used for mail. A heavy one, the type lawyers used. I set it on the table and labeled it with a black marker: the folder of truth. Inside, I placed the documents that mattered most: the bank logs, Sam's identity fraud attempt, the notary-certified papers, and Eva's statement. These would be the first items I would open in front of them. I organized the rest around it like a timeline, from oldest to newest, from warning signs to outright sabotage. Everything would be easy to follow. Even a person in denial wouldn't be able to explain it away. Next, I prepared the seating. I set 3 chairs directly across from where I would sit. One for Sam, one for Clarissa, one for whoever they brought as emotional backup, usually Clarissa's mother. Then I placed 2 chairs behind me for the Golden Ladies. Not because I needed their help, but because I wanted lawful witnesses, eyes and ears that no one could challenge. I took a step back and evaluated the room. Nothing felt out of place. Nothing felt rushed. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Sam. "We're coming tomorrow at 3. Clarissa wants to go over numbers with you." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Another message popped up seconds later. "Make sure you have the paperwork ready." A small smile formed. Not warm, not amused, just a faint acknowledgement of what tomorrow would become. I powered off the phone and returned to the table. The last step was testing the recording equipment. I pressed the button on the small device, walked to the other side of the room, and spoke in a normal tone. "My name is Adele Montoya, test 1. I played it back. Clear, sharp, perfect. Then I opened a blank document on my laptop and enabled audio capture. Another layer of protection. I checked the angles on the cameras once more. Both were positioned at eye level, both unobstructed. They would capture faces, gestures, and reactions. Everything needed for legal reinforcement. The house was silent again. No movement, no noise from outside. I stood alone in the center of the room, surrounded by documents and cold clarity. For a moment I thought about Christmases years ago, Sam sitting where I was now, showing me drawings from school or telling me about his first job. Those memories no longer hurt. They simply didn't match the man he became. Facts were sharper than nostalgia. The doorbell rang. I walked to the entryway and opened it. Rose stood on the porch with a bag of groceries. "Thought you might need lunch. I know you'll forget otherwise." "I appreciate it," I replied. She stepped inside and looked around the room. Her eyes widened slightly. "You're turning this place into a courtroom." "Not a courtroom," I corrected her. "A mirror." She walked toward the table, scanning the documents. "They won't be ready for this." "They never are," I replied. She set the groceries down and turned toward me. "You sure you don't want us here tonight?" "Tomorrow is enough," I answered. "Tonight I organize. Tomorrow they face what they created." Rose nodded, gave my shoulder a firm squeeze, and left after a brief hug. I closed the door and locked it. Then I returned to the table and double-checked every document again. Sam and Clarissa wanted a meeting. They wanted to pitch their fake business. They wanted to convince me to hand over $250,000. They wanted to finish whatever scheme they had started weeks ago. Tomorrow they would get their meeting, just not the one they planned. I placed the folder of truth in the center of the table and turned off the lights. Sam arrived at exactly 3 o'clock. His car pulled into my driveway fast, like he was stepping into a negotiation he believed he already won. Clarissa stepped out of the passenger side, wearing a bright coat and carrying a gold-trimmed bottle of champagne. She held it up as if she were arriving at a celebration. I opened the door before they knocked. "Come in." Clarissa lifted the bottle with a wide smile. "We brought something special. Thought it would make things easier." "Set it on the table," I instructed. The living room was arranged exactly the way I planned. 3 chairs facing me, the long table cleared except for a neat stack of documents, and the golden ladies sitting quietly on the sofa behind me. Their presence made Sam pause. He scanned them, confused, then forced a grin. "Didn't know we were having an audience." "You invited them," Rose replied calmly. "Just not with your words." Sam frowned but didn't answer. Clarissa took his arm. "Let's start. We have a lot to cover." They followed me to the table. Clarissa popped the champagne, poured 3 glasses, one for herself, one for Sam, one for me. I didn't touch mine. Sam lifted his glass. "To new beginnings." I didn't raise mine. "Let's discuss why you're here." Clarissa slid into her seat, pulled out her laptop, and opened a presentation. "We'll keep this simple. The Christmas decor chain is ready to launch. We already have suppliers lined up, inventory secured, and a projection model. You only need to invest $250,000. She clicked through slides at top speed. Fake numbers, fake projections, fake inventory lists. Everything looked polished on the surface, but there were no permits, no licenses, no operational plan. Nothing real. Sam leaned forward. "This is a win-win. You help us get started, and once the company grows, you'll see returns in the first year." I watched both of them without blinking.
"Where's your market analysis?"
Clarissa froze for half a second before recovering. Well, we've done our research. Show me, I replied. She clicked through her slides again, searching for something that didn't exist. It's in our notes. Your insurance plan? I continued. Your licensing? Your rental agreements? Store location? Liability coverage? Operational permits? Sam shifted in his seat. We're finalizing that. And yet you're asking for $250,000 today, I pointed out. Clarissa lifted her chin. It's Christmas week. Offices are closed. We'll get everything after the holiday. You know how business works. I know how legitimate business works, I responded. Sam's mouth tightened. He leaned back, crossing his arms. Mom, we're trying to build something. You always talk about responsibility and initiative. We're taking initiative. I opened the folder of truth. The sound made Sam jerk forward. Before we go any further, I began, I want clarification. About what? Clarissa pushed out, her tone already losing confidence. Why you used my name at the bank without permission? Sam's face drained. Clarissa's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. The golden ladies sat perfectly still behind me. Sam forced a laugh. What? Mom, that must be a misunderstanding. I placed the notarized bank logs on the table. 3 visits, 3 attempts, 1 fraudulent credit application. Clarissa blinked rapidly. Sam, what credit application? He shot her a warning look, but she ignored it and turned to the golden ladies as if hoping they would help. They didn't move. I continued. And here's the record of you telling the family I was providing the $250,000 tomorrow. Clarissa's cheeks lost all color. Who told you that? Your own behavior confirmed it, I answered, sliding Eva's notes forward. Sam ran a hand through his hair. Mom, you're blowing this out of proportion. We were planning a business. We needed your support. You needed my signature, I corrected, and my assets. Clarissa leaned in. Look, we're all family. We needed your house anyway. Why make this so dramatic? The room went silent. Sam closed his eyes like he knew instantly those words were fatal. Rose's eyebrows lifted. Mary exchanged a look with Anne. Clarissa realized too late what she had confessed to. I reached for the small remote on the table and pressed the button. The TV mounted on the wall flicked on, playing the audio from 10 minutes earlier. Clarissa's voice filled the room. We needed your house anyway. Why make this so dramatic? Tom, clear, beyond denial. Clarissa's eyes widened in horror. You recorded us? Every minute, I replied. Every interaction, every request, every lie. Sam slammed his palm on the table. Mom! Seriously? I ignored his outburst and placed the second file in front of them. Identity fraud. Federal violation. The title alone made Clarissa sink lower in her chair. I opened it and pointed to the copy of the credit line form with the forged signature. This is not a misunderstanding. This is a felony. Sam swallowed hard. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the document but didn't touch it. You humiliated me on Christmas, I stated. You reached into my finances without permission. You used my name with strangers. You told your in-laws I had agreed to fund your lives. You tried to portray me as unstable to gain control of my estate. Clarissa wiped her face. We didn't mean for it to get this far. That part is true, I replied. You planned further than your capacity. Sam leaned forward, voice low. We just needed help. That's all. You wanted ownership, I corrected him. You wanted control, and you wanted access, but you didn't expect documentation. Sam looked toward the golden ladies, as if hoping for sympathy. Rose stared back, unimpressed. Mary crossed her arms. Anne shook her head once. Clarissa whispered, What happens now? Now, I responded. You listen. I closed the folder and folded my hands. Tomorrow morning, I meet with Harrington to finalize the estate transfer. You will have no claim, no access, no path to reverse it. Sam's jaw dropped. Clarissa reached for the champagne bottle with a shaking hand. You brought champagne to celebrate, I told them. You can take it home. Neither moved. I stood. This meeting is over. Sam rose slowly, face pale. Clarissa followed, gripping her coat. They walked toward the door in silence. the confidence they arrived with gone. I didn't watch them leave. I didn't need to. The golden ladies rose behind me. Rose whispered, "They never expected this." "No," I replied. "They expected someone they could control." Sam didn't leave immediately. He stood near the doorway with his hand on the frame, breathing hard, trying to regain the control he thought he had when he walked into my house. Clarissa hovered behind him, mascara smudged, her coat half slipped from one shoulder. She looked shaken, but still tried to hold her chin up. I walked back to the table and opened the folder of truth again. "We're not done." Sam turned around slowly. "What else do you want?" "Accountability." His jaw tightened. Clarissa let out a small, nervous exhale. The golden ladies sat back down quietly, watching without a single interruption. Their presence alone made Sam uneasy. I placed the first stack of documents in a line, then the second, then the third. The timeline of their actions lay in front of them, clear, organized, undeniable. "You forged my signature," I started. "You attempted a federal credit line. You tried to add your name to my accounts. You intercepted court mail. You told your in-laws I was confused and unstable. You erased me from your Christmas photo. You humiliated me in front of a table full of strangers." Sam's eyes flicked through each paper. "Mom, we can explain." I raised my hand once. He stopped talking immediately. "No excuses," I told him. "This is a record of choices, not accidents." Clarissa stepped forward. "We just needed financial support. You always had so much, and you thought you deserved it," I cut in. She shut her mouth. I pressed the remote again. The TV lit up with a second clip. The camera angle was clear, the sound sharp. It showed the moment from earlier, Sam admitting they needed control. Clarissa talking about realigning assets. Their voices carried through the room with no room for reinterpretation. Sam dropped onto the chair behind him. "You recorded everything?" "I recorded what mattered." Clarissa covered her mouth with one hand. Her voice trembled. "This can't go public." "That depends on your next choices," I replied. Sam leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. "We messed up. I get it. But you can't destroy your own son over some misunderstandings." "Misunderstandings don't come with forged signatures," I responded. Rose, sitting behind me, nodded slowly. Mary crossed her arms. Anne's expression didn't change. I pulled out the next file. Identity fraud. Federal penalty overview. Sam flinched. "What is that?" "A document outlining the consequences," I explained, "since you and Clarissa attempted to impersonate me at a bank." Clarissa snapped her gaze toward him. "You said it wasn't that serious. You told me." Sam whispered, "Stop." I placed one more folder on the table, this one thin but important. "This is the legal response Harrington prepared. Emergency protection of assets, updated estate structure, fraud counteraction." Sam lifted his head. "You're actually doing this?" "You pushed me into it." Clarissa shifted from foot to foot. "We didn't want to hurt you. We just needed a foundation to build something for Mia. You know she deserves stability." "You don't build stability through theft," I replied. Sam clenched his fists. "I'm still your son." "And you're still the man who ordered me out of your house on Christmas," I answered calmly. "In front of your daughter." He flinched again. I pressed the remote once more. The next recording played, the audio of Sam shouting, "You are not welcome here! Get out!" Clarissa closed her eyes. Sam covered his face with his hands. "This is what Mia heard," I reminded him. "This is what everyone heard." He lowered his hands, his voice cracking. "Mom, please." I was stressed. It got out of control. "No," I responded. "You were in control. Very comfortable, very confident, and very wrong." His breathing grew uneven. Clarissa finally collapsed into the chair next to him. "We didn't think you'd fight back like this." "That is the problem," I replied. "You thought I would break quietly." They both stared at me, the realization settling in that the woman they mistreated was not the woman standing in front of them now. I opened the final folder, my medical competence report prepared for the next day. You tried to declare me incompetent, I stated. You tried to use the court system to seize my home. Sam's head snapped up. We never filed it. You attempted, I corrected him. Your lawyer contacted the court. The notice was sent. You intercepted it. Clarissa whispered. He threw it out. I told him not to. For the first time, Sam glared at her. You didn't stop me either. Their alliance cracked right in front of me. I stayed silent, letting the weight of their conflict hang in the air. The recordings, the documents, the witnesses watching from behind me, it all built a pressure they couldn't talk their way out of. Finally, I closed the folder and stacked everything neatly again. You wanted control, I told them. This is the result. Sam stood abruptly, eyes red. What do you want from us? Tell me. Tell me what fixes this. There is no fix, I replied. There is only consequence. Clarissa's shoulders shook. Are you turning this in? All of it? That depends on your next actions. If you attempt to access my accounts again, if you attempt to approach the estate, if you attempt to contact any financial institution on my behalf, this entire file goes to law enforcement. Sam swallowed hard. So that's it. You're cutting me off. No, I corrected him. You cut yourself off. He pressed both hands on the table. I'm your son. You were, I answered, before you chose power over family. He froze, completely still for several seconds. Then he stepped back. Clarissa rose slowly, wiping her eyes. Neither looked powerful anymore. Sam nodded once, defeated. We'll go, Clarissa whispered. Adele, please don't let this ruin everything. You ruined it, I replied softly. I simply recorded it. They walked toward the door without another word. No shouting, no demands. Only the sound of their footsteps fading down the hallway. When the door closed behind them, Rose reached forward and placed her hand on my shoulder. They didn't expect a single piece of this, she murmured. The house stayed quiet after Sam and Clarissa left. The Golden Ladies helped me tidy the table, then headed home with the same calm they carried through the entire confrontation. When the door finally closed behind them, I stood in the center of the room, reviewing every detail of what had just unfolded. It wasn't over, not even close. I knew Sam well enough to expect one final attempt to regain control. He always panicked after losing ground, and tonight he had lost more than he understood. I locked the folder of truth in my desk drawer, checked the cameras once more, and turned off the lights. Then I slept, deeply, without worry. By morning, everything accelerated. At 8:12 a.m., my phone vibrated. Harrington's name appeared, and I answered instantly. His tone was sharp. Adele, your son's lawyer filed an emergency request with the court at 7 this morning. They're trying to declare you mentally incompetent. I closed my laptop gently. I expected that. They're claiming erratic behavior, confusion, and inability to manage finances, he continued. They're pushing for a temporary conservatorship. They won't get it. They won't, he agreed. But we need documentation today. Can you meet Dr. Ramirez within the hour? Give me the address. He sent it immediately. I grabbed my coat, purse, and the notarized bank records. Before leaving, I checked the message Sam sent overnight. Mom, we can still fix this. Let's talk tomorrow. Another one followed. I didn't mean for everything to blow up. You misunderstood last night. And one more. Please don't shut me out. I turned off notifications and walked out. The medical building was only 15 minutes away. When I arrived, the receptionist recognized my name and led me straight to Dr. Ramirez's office. He stood when I entered. Mrs. Montoya, come in. I was briefed. He motioned to the small table where several assessments were set out. This won't take long. I'm ready. We began immediately. Memory tests, logic sequences, orientation questions, pattern recognition, timed responses, then a full psychological screening. He monitored my reactions carefully, noting every answer without judgment or hesitation. When we finished, he reviewed his notes. Your cognitive function is excellent. No impairment, no confusion, no signs of instability. In fact, your performance surpasses most patients 20 years younger. I want that in writing, I replied. You'll have it, he promised. including video documentation. We're recording this session for legal purposes. It will be notarized before you leave." "Perfect." His assistant entered with the portable notary kit. Papers were printed, stamped, sealed, and added to a thick envelope with my name on it. Before I left, Dr. Ramirez handed me the folder. "Whatever your son attempted, this will stop it. It already has." When I walked back into my car, sunlight reflected mildly off the windshield. The cold morning air didn't bother me. My steps were steady, controlled. At 10:04 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Harrington. "I filed the counterpetition," he informed me. "False allegation, intent to defraud, attempted financial coercion, all documented." "Good. You'll like this part," he added. "The court already notified Sam's attorney. He will get the packet by tonight." Exactly on schedule. I drove home. The moment I stepped inside, I placed the medical folder beside the others, creating a new stack labeled Interdiction Response. Every piece fit together. At 5:21 p.m., my phone rang again. This time, it was Sam. I let it ring twice before answering. His voice trembled. "Mom, we need to talk." "I don't think we do." "You're taking this too far," he rushed out. "I didn't mean for the lawyer to file anything. He misread what I wanted. We just needed clarity and—" "That's not accurate," I interrupted. "Your lawyer contacted the court. The notice was issued. You intercepted it. Then you attempted again this morning." He froze. I could hear his breath hitch. How do you know that?" "I know everything I need to know." He exhaled sharply. "Mom, please, let me explain. Clarissa pushed me. Her parents kept asking about assets. I wasn't thinking straight. You were thinking clearly when you told them I was confused, when you used my name, when you tried to access my accounts, when you threw me out of your house." "That was a mistake," he whispered. "I swear I didn't mean it." "You meant every word." He paused, voice breaking. "I'm begging you. Don't do this to me. I'm your son." "You told me I wasn't welcome," I replied. "All I'm doing is honoring your words." A long silence filled the line. For the first time in years, Sam didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He didn't push blame. He didn't shift responsibility. He broke. "I messed up," he whispered. "I know I did. Please, I can't lose everything." "You didn't lose everything because of me," I told him plainly. "You lost everything because you chose greed over integrity." He began to cry, quiet, shaky, genuine. I waited until he steadied his breath. "There will be no physical confrontation, no drama, no shouting. The law will handle the consequences. You created the situation. I'm simply documenting it." "Can I come over? Please? Just 5 minutes." "No." The firmness in my tone made him inhale sharply. "You lost the privilege of entering my home when you ordered me out of yours." "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I know," I answered, "but apology doesn't erase pattern." The line stayed quiet. Finally, he managed, "Will you ever forgive me?" "That depends on the choices you make next," I replied. "But I no longer live for your approval or your comfort." He released a broken breath. "I don't want to lose you." "You lost access," I corrected. "Not me." Then I ended the call. I set the phone down, marked the conversation in my notes, and added the timestamp to the file. Everything was documented. Everything was protected. Tomorrow, I would move on to the next phase, the estate transfer. Tonight, the house stayed calm, and for the first time in a long time, so did I. I arrived at the Ridgeview title office just before noon. The parking lot was half empty, the holiday week keeping most people home, but the staff inside worked with a quiet focus. I stepped out of my car with the folder under my arm, walked through the glass doors, and headed straight toward the counter. The clerk recognized my appointment and directed me to a private room. A long wooden table sat in the center, papers already arranged neatly in 2 stacks. Harrington stood by the window reviewing one of the forms. He turned when I entered. "Everything is ready." I took my seat across from him. Let's proceed. He passed the first document to me. This transfers full ownership of the Winter Estate into the St. Helena Foundation. Once you sign, the property becomes a charitable asset. No individual, family or otherwise, can claim it. Good, I replied. That's exactly the goal. I opened my pen and began signing. Each signature felt calm, deliberate, final. Harrington reviewed every page as I moved through them, flipping each one into a growing stack of completed transfers. When we reached the final form, he paused. Once this is filed, Sam has no legal path back into the estate. Not through conservatorship, not through inheritance, not through a challenge. He made his choice, I replied. I signed the last line, closed the folder, and slid it toward him. It's done, Harrington confirmed. I'll file everything within the hour. I stood. Thank you. He gave a brief nod. If Sam or Clarissa attempt anything further, contact me immediately. I will. I left the office and stepped into the cold air. Snow drifted lightly across the pavement, thin enough to see the asphalt beneath. I unlocked my car and placed the folder inside. As I closed the door, a sharp voice called from across the lot. Adele! I turned. Clarissa stood near the entrance, coat hanging off one shoulder, hair messy, makeup streaked. She looked like someone who hadn't slept all night. She rushed toward me, nearly losing her balance on the icy ground. You can't do this, she blurted out. Please, you can't take the house. I already did. Her chest heaved, her breath uneven. You don't understand. Sam told me you were emotional. He told me you were just angry. I didn't think you'd actually... You didn't think, I corrected calmly. That's the problem. She gripped her hands together. Please just listen. Sam used your money even before Christmas. He bought gifts for my parents. He told them you paid for everything. I didn't know until yesterday. You knew enough. She flinched at the firmness in my voice. He told me you agreed to help him, she continued quickly. I believed him. I thought you two had talked about it. I thought you were supporting us. I didn't realize he was lying to everyone. You figured it out when it benefited you, I replied. Not before. Tears filled her eyes. She stepped closer. I was wrong. I know that now. I never wanted it to go this far. I didn't want him to push you into anything. I tried to stop him. You helped him, I interrupted. You pushed him. You encouraged him. You stood beside him while he threw me out of his house. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. Being sorry doesn't undo intent. Clarissa wiped her face with the back of her hand. Her steps wavered slightly. Is he going to jail? I let the question hang in the air. Her breathing grew sharp, shallow, terrified. That depends on Sam, I responded finally, and on whether he keeps crossing legal boundaries. She wrapped her arms tightly around herself. He's falling apart. He barely slept. He keeps pacing, saying he ruined everything. That's accurate. He needs help, she whispered. He needs someone to guide him, someone he trusts. He listens to you more than anyone. He listened to greed more than he ever listened to me. She swallowed hard, tears sliding down her cheeks. I don't know what to do. You face the consequences, I replied. Like adults. Clarissa's legs seemed to weaken. She crouched slightly, hands on her knees, trying to hold herself together. I'm sorry, she repeated in a hoarse whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. You hurt yourself, I answered. You and Sam did this together. I just stopped shielding you from the outcome. She stared up at me, raw fear, guilt, and desperation swirling in her expression. Is there anything I can do? She asked. Yes, I told her. Leave. Her eyes widened. Go home, I clarified. Deal with Sam. Deal with your choices. Leave me out of whatever story you build next. She nodded slowly, defeated. No more arguments, no more performance. Just acceptance that the world she tried to construct had collapsed overnight. I turned toward my car door. Adele, she whispered behind me, will you ever forgive us? I paused, hand on the handle. That depends on the two of you, I said. but I no longer carry the burden of fixing your lives." Her breath hitched. She took one shaky step backward. I opened the door and got inside. Clarissa stood in the snow, coat slipping again, arms wrapped around herself. When I started the engine, she didn't move. She just watched. I pulled out of the lot without looking back. When I reached home, I set the new estate documents on my dining table and opened my journal. I wrote only one line. Today, I closed the door to my past and opened the gate to my peace. The house around me stayed silent, steady, safe. 3 weeks passed. The snow around Ridgeview thinned into hard white patches along the sidewalks, but the cold stayed sharp. My days settled into a routine: coffee at 6, a walk through the neighborhood at 7, and quiet afternoons reviewing paperwork for the St. Helena Foundation. The house stayed peaceful. No raised voices, no tension, no false promises, only clarity. Mia was the first person to reach out. Her message arrived on a Tuesday evening while I was folding laundry. "Grandma, can I still come over? I miss you." A small weight softened in my chest. Whatever her parents had done, Mia remained untouched by their greed. I texted back, "Yes, sweetheart, I'll pick you up tomorrow." The next day, she ran into my arms the moment I stepped out of the car. Her coat was unzipped, her gloves mismatched, and her ponytail slightly crooked. She clung to me. "I'm glad you're here," I told her, brushing her hair back gently. "Dad's been crying," she whispered. "A lot. Mom, too." "Mom." I didn't respond. I simply held her tighter. Inside my home, she took her usual spot at the kitchen island while I prepared tea. She swung her legs slowly, watching me with steady eyes. "Are you mad at Dad?" she asked. "I'm disappointed," I responded, "but that's between him and me. It doesn't change how I feel about you." Her shoulders relaxed. "I'm happy you're still my grandma. You always will have me." We spent the afternoon decorating gingerbread cookies, reading one of her favorite winter books, and talking about school. She laughed freely, something I hadn't heard from her in weeks. At 5 o'clock, she glanced toward the window. "Dad's outside." I looked out. Sam stood near his car, hands in his pockets, eyes lowered. He looked thinner, his beard untrimmed, his posture uncertain. When he noticed me looking, he took a slow step forward. "Stay here," I told Mia. "I'll talk to him outside." She nodded. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. The air was cold, but it didn't bother me. Sam approached cautiously, like he wasn't sure if he had permission to be on the same street. "Thank you for letting her visit," he murmured, voice rough from lack of sleep. "She's a child," I replied. "She's innocent." He swallowed hard. "I know." He kept his distance, as if afraid to get too close. "I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to beg. I need to tell you something." I waited. "I lost everything," he admitted. Clarissa moved out. Her parents cut contact. Her father told me I embarrassed the entire family. I've been staying at Ethan's house because the rent is past due. I looked at him steadily. "Those are natural consequences." "I know." He rubbed his face. "I've been going through the recordings, the documents, the notices. I didn't realize how far I pushed things, how deep I got." "You realized exactly what you were doing," I corrected him. "You just didn't expect resistance." His eyes filled with tears. He blinked hard, fighting the collapse I had watched build over the last few weeks. "I don't have an excuse," he continued. "Not one. I betrayed your trust. I used your name. I lied to people. I risked your freedom, your money, your stability, and for what? A business plan that wasn't even real." "And control," I added. His breath caught. "Yes, control. I thought if I secured the estate, everything in my life would get easier. I thought if I had the house, the money, the authority, maybe I'd finally feel like I was worth something." "You don't build worth by taking from your mother," I replied. His composure cracked completely. Tears fell freely. He didn't hide them. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Not because I want anything. I'm sorry because I see it now. I see every mistake like it's playing on a screen in front of me. That awareness came late, I said. I know. He took a shaky breath. I can't change what I did. I can't undo any of it. But I want to fix myself. I want to be someone Mia can trust. Someone you're not ashamed of. I'm not ashamed of you, I told him, but I am deeply disappointed. His face crumpled. I don't expect forgiveness, he murmured. I don't want you to hate me. I don't hate you, I answered. But I also don't ignore patterns. You told me I wasn't welcome. I respected your wish. He nodded painfully. I deserved that. Yes. He wiped his face with the back of his sleeve. If there's ever a chance to make things right, even if it takes years, I'll work for it. That's your responsibility, I replied, not my assignment. He pressed a hand to his chest, a gesture I remembered from his childhood when he used to get overwhelmed. Can I at least see Mia for a minute? You can, I answered, but only if you're steady. I will be. I opened the door slightly and motioned for Mia. She stepped outside carefully, her small boots crunching on the thin layer of snow. Daddy? She whispered. Sam knelt immediately, wrapping his arms around her tightly. She held him back with the simple forgiveness children offer without fully understanding the world's complications. I love you, he whispered into her hair. I missed you, she replied. He kissed the top of her head, then let her go. Grandma is taking care of you? He asked. Yes, she nodded. We made cookies. His lips twitched into something close to a smile. Then his eyes moved back to me. Thank you. I gave a small nod. No promises, no softening, only acknowledgement. He stood, squeezed Mia's hand gently, then walked back to his car without another word. He didn't ask to come inside. He didn't ask for help. He didn't ask for money. He left with the quiet understanding that boundaries were permanent now. I guided Mia back inside. She kicked off her boots and went straight for the gingerbread tray. As I watched her decorate another cookie, my thoughts settled. Not heavy, not conflicted, just clear. Justice wasn't punishment. Justice was structure. Justice was peace. And peace was finally mine. Later that night, after Mia fell asleep on the couch, I sat by the window with a warm blanket and wrote one final line in my journal. Justice is choosing peace over chaos, even when the chaos is your own child. I closed the book. No anger, no resentment, only resolution. Tomorrow would be ordinary again, and ordinary felt like a blessing. And that is how I learned the most unexpected lesson of my life. Sometimes the deepest peace doesn't come from winning. It comes from choosing yourself, setting boundaries, and refusing to carry the weight that others try to place on your shoulders. I didn't destroy my son. I didn't punish him. I simply stepped out of the chaos he created and watched him realize what he had lost. If you've ever lived through something similar, if you've ever been pushed aside, underestimated, or used, I hope my story reminds you of one thing. You still get to choose peace. You still get to choose yourself. And you're never too old to reclaim your life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Your presence here means more than you know. If you'd like to hear more real-life stories like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need it. And as always, I'll be right here, waiting for you in the next story.